And my first my first project in self-publishing was a magazine called Vague Paper. As the name suggests, it's a satire of Vogue, and it's a satirical fashion magazine. It lasted for 8 issues. It got a bit dark, and our 9th issue was meant to be an issue called Marie Claire is a Slut, and we got together with 2 other friends and decided to make this magazine called Baron.
Vi ho portato alcuni esempi del mio background, che è un background nelle pubblicazioni di moda. Ho curato riviste per bambini come direttore creativo e anche riviste per uomini. Il mio primo progetto indipendente, lo vedete qua in alto, Vague Paper, ed era un po' una satira su queste riviste anche tipo Marie Claire.
Okay. So Baron was started by 3 co-founders. It was concepted by myself really. It was inspired by an issue of Vague Paper that never really happened. The other 2 co-founders are Cesare Blumfeld, who's an interesting curator based in Berlin and runs a project space called Composing Rooms. And the other co-founder is Jonathan Barron. He's an art director, and he worked really on the logo and the design and the formatting of the magazine. For the debut issue of Baron, we wanted it to be really a conceptual project, really thought through. So there's really a rationale to everything about the way the magazine was produced, from the editor-in-chief to the sheets in the magazine to the format. The format was very much inspired by this book by Hans-Peter Feldman, the artist, and it's a really amazing, beautiful book with found imagery called Voyeur. And for those of you that don't know, it's very small in size. It's smaller than A5 and can fit into your back pocket. And we were really inspired by Voyeur. Although the content of Baron isn't perhaps inspired by Voyeur, the size was really appealing to us. You know, it can be read with one hand. The debut issue of Baron had a sort of plastic cover as well, coating cover to it to help stop it from any wax splurges. And so let's talk about the editor.
Baron magazine.
May I translate before?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I love Baron magazine.
Baron è stato concepito da me, io sono uno dei cofondatori. Insieme a me c'è un compagno che sta a Berlino e in questa realtà che si chiama Campaigning Room, e poi c'è un art director che si occupa di graphic design. Il progetto ha un'impronta molto concettuale, abbiamo ragionato moltissimo su come è prodotto, sul formato, oltre ovviamente che sui contenuti. E ci ha ispirato moltissimo il libro di cui avete visto la copertina prima, Holroyd, non tanto per i suoi contenuti quanto proprio per questo formato in A5 e per la sua qualità visiva, per gli elementi visivi che c'erano dentro. Ci piace quest'idea che possa stare in una tasca, possa stare in una mano, e quindi questo libro Voyeur è stato per noi una grande fonte di ispirazione.
Thank you. So I talked about how we wanted to find a sort of rationale behind every element that constructed the debut issue, and one of the examples is the editor-in-chief called the Baron. He's a spoof editor who is a parody really of some of the past pornographic editor-in-chiefs such as Hugh Hefner. And this was our debut video. We hired an actor. It was quite funny actually because he's not American, he's very Cockney, and he's from Essex, but he put on a very convincing American accent to bring our debut video when he introduces the Baron. So.
Questo è un video che introduce Baron, lo potete vedere, l'editore e il capo editore della rivista. Qui fa uno splendido accento americano, in realtà non è affatto americano, viene da Access, ma è molto convincente questo video.
No, it doesn't work. It's slow motion. It's on the street. It seems to have crashed. So while we're fixing that technical fault, so we took this a bit further. Okay, here we go. We took this a bit further. I mean, it's quite repetitive, that video. He sort of says, I love Baron magazine, and he sort of acts as a sort of pseudo-editor-in-chief, the Baron. Next slide, it's not working. In the debut issue of Playboy, Hugh Hefner wrote, in part of our parody of him, if you're somebody's sister, wife, or mother-in-law and picked us up by mistake, please pass us along to the man in your life and get back to your lady's home companion. We took the debut editor's letter of Playboy, rewrote it to include men and women in this, and that women would be an important part of looking at Baron as well as men.
Baron è una rivista che noi pensiamo per uomini e per donne, abbiamo però messo questa introduzione che dice: se sei la sorella di qualcuno, la moglie o la suocera di qualcuno e hai preso super errore questa rivista, per favore passala all'uomo che è nella tua vita e poi riportala indietro alle donne.
And the debut issue carried that on, and the first essay that opened the magazine after the editor's letter was an introduction to the history of Playboy and how it has perhaps had an influence on fashion and body image. We explored, for those of you that want to sort of take this further after this talk, aspects such as the pubic wars, which I think has had a really big impact on perhaps the way women and men look with body hair, for example. I'm going to speed this up because there's 70 slides compared to my colleagues, and I'm not going to talk about each work as I was prior to this talk, but we wanted to sort of explore different ideas about sex and sexuality in the issue, and how it has a sort of instinctive feeling when you sort of talk about photography and sex. Obviously that can be what do you think this image means really, actually? What do you think we were trying to say with this?
Allora, il primo lavoro che abbiamo fatto è stato una sorta di introduzione storica, partendo da Playboy, sull'influenza che Playboy ha avuto e può aver avuto nella moda e anche nell'immaginario legato al corpo. Quindi come è stato plasmato l'immaginario dei corpi degli uomini e delle donne, e ci piaceva in questo esplorare idee diverse di sesso e sessualità e lavorare, diciamo che normalmente riteniamo che ci sia come una sensazione istintiva, una reazione istintiva quando la foto e la sessualità vengono messe insieme. Per esempio, se partiamo da questa immagine, pensate cosa vi suscita?
Yeah, so great. I'm going to show you a series of images, and perhaps as the audience could perhaps just sort of contextualize that themselves instead of me doing it. What do you think? Why do you think we included in these images in the debut issue?
Vi mostro semplicemente una serie di immagini senza che io stia a spiegarvi tutto il contesto, e cercate di capire o vedere perché pensate che abbiamo incluso queste immagini all'interno della parte del sito sulle daily issues.
What do you think?
Cosa pensate?
I mean, incredibly violent images. What do you think we're trying to say about sort of the history of photography?
Sono immagini abbastanza violente, in qualche modo. Che cosa pensate che volessimo dire con queste immagini?
This particular image is by Bill Durgan, and this is by Bruce LaBruce. And this is by Pina Yolican. Why do you think those sort of images were included?
Perché pensate che le abbiamo messe queste
When we sort of unpack those images, I think it becomes we've used sort of imagery that sort of references horror, violence. The subject is left sort of quite volatile in a gallery room, looking like a sort of stump of meat. And I think that becomes quite an interesting point for us when we started the magazine to look at how photography and sex could be considered as quite violent and marginalise certain groups of people, but it also could be quite enjoyable. So for us, we started the issue when you the rationale behind the order of images was very much based on sort of looking at violence, then looking at something quite pleasurable. And then again, closing it with another essay just about the history of sex and sexuality. So that was quite important for us for the first issue. And I think one of the reasons why we wanted to do with that was because the three of us really didn't know much about this historical discourse of sex and photography and publishing. And for us it was a very sort of ethnographical approach to make this project.
E come vedete queste immagini hanno in qualche modo un riferimento alla violenza o a un immaginario horror e ci interessava quando abbiamo cominciato proprio esplorare questo fatto di come spesso la fotografia e il sesso insieme richiamano un immaginario horror o violento. La fotografia e il sesso, questa abbinata, marginalizza alcune persone, ma anche può provocare piacere. Quindi abbiamo abbinato delle immagini dove c'era un aspetto più violento, delle immagini invece con un aspetto più piacevole, insieme a dei saggi, dei testi sulla sessualità. Noi tre, quando abbiamo cominciato, non avevamo un'idea molto chiara di quale fosse la storia dell'immagine e della sessualità, quindi è stato un po' anche una sorta di ricerca etnografica per noi questo lavoro.
Okay, for our second issue we wanted to explore this idea of a supplement. When we've been researching sort of pornographic magazines and looking at publications such as Soho, the original sort of Soho Lit issues, which were homemade pornographic magazines, to more sort of modern magazines, we noticed that there was this reoccurring publication called Supplement Magazine that would focus on a certain fetish or perhaps a certain subject. And so we came up with this idea of creating a supplement where we work with one photographer or artist and explore sort of one theme. Our first issue of that was with fashion photographer Tyrone Le Bon, and
what's his name?
Tyrone Le Bon.
Tyrone Le Bon.
For those of you that don't know him, he is photographs quite a lot for Vogue, 2ID. He shot sort of campaigns for Celine to Calvin Klein, and prior to Tyrone, his father was also quite an influential fashion photographer called Mark Le Bon. He developed a sort of movement in fashion called Buffalo Style, and when you look at Tyrone's work, which you can do in your own time, you can sort of see as reference points. We really loved Tyrone's work, and he was sort of a personal friend, and we were also friends with Max Kerman, who is the editor-in-chief of Arena Om, and wanted to bring them both in to make this issue with Tyrone. For us, we looked at Tyrone's education really. He studied anthropology, he didn't actually study photography. And so we wanted to bring in some of his ideas from his studies to explore this project that was set to explore the adult industry. One of the research processes that we used was really documentary photography, and which later on we wrote the press release and much of the written works based on this documentary photography, where we studied this group of people who worked in the adult industry. This particular research, I just mentioned it before, our research process is called ethnography. We study a sort of community and document them and sort of write about your findings afterwards. So that was very much an approach that we took with this particular supplement. It took about 12 months and we worked with different companies to different subjects who worked in the adult industry. Can you move it on, please? Next. Yeah, so this is the front cover. This is one of our videos that we made.
Hi, you're watching me racing at Babe Station. Now, I heard I was doing a Barry magazine. Oh my god, I just can't wait. I've been thinking about all day, taking all the pictures and all the outfits. Barry magazine. I can't wait to be in there. So I just act as if I know it and I love it.
Il secondo numero è stata un'esplorazione sulla pornografia. Abbiamo esplorato sia nella pornografia fatta in casa come invece nella pornografia più moderna e nell'industria pornografica. E abbiamo come sempre scelto un fotografo che potesse aiutarci e seguirci in questa esplorazione, quindi diciamo che in ogni numero di solito scegliamo un fotografo e un soggetto. In questo caso abbiamo scelto il fotografo Phile, che è un fotografo, per chi di voi non lo conosce come me, che ha lavorato per Vogue, per ID, per riviste molto importanti, ha lanciato delle campagne di Calvin Klein, insieme a Marc Le Bon, sicuramente uno sguardo molto influente. Ci è piaciuto molto il suo lavoro e la cosa anche che ci ha interessato molto è che Tyrone in realtà ha come background di studi l'antropologia, quindi non ha studiato fotografia e ha portato questo suo approccio antropologico, ci interessava che portasse questo suo approccio antropologico nella ricerca che abbiamo fatto. E lui di solito è più un documentarista, quindi questo numero è stata una sorta di ricerca etnografica attraverso la quale abbiamo documentato e attraversato varie comunità e diversi soggetti dell'industria.
So the video, if you want to translate this next, the video that you've just seen was we spent about 2 weeks at a particular interactive TV station called Babe Station, and the idea behind Babe Station is that you can call in and speak to the models and form relationships with them. You can have personal relationships with them or sexual relationships with them. It's not a physical relationship, it's done through the internet or the TV or the telephone. And we spent 2 weeks there, and it was quite interesting. Often it was predominantly men that would call in, weren't really sort of looking for sexual relationships. They were often very elderly or disabled and wanted to have a relationship with a woman, which was quite interesting and quite tragic as well at the same time.
Il video che avete appena visto è un video che abbiamo girato rimanendo per 2 settimane in una baby station, che è un posto dove puoi parlare con le modelle, avere dei rapporti personali o dei rapporti sessuali con le modelle al di fuori della televisione o dell'uso del telefono, quindi dal vivo. E è stato anche interessante vedere come molte delle persone che frequentavano questo posto si dichiaravano incapaci di avere dei rapporti con le donne.
Again, we worked with different companies. One of the different companies that other companies that we worked with was a plastic surgery company, and you can see here this is a sort of collage of works of Tyrone documenting hair implant procedure. I think the next picture is quite amusing. You can see the patient recovering, looking at one of his hairier primates, hoping that he'll also look like that.
Qui avete visto anche un'altra delle due questioni su cui abbiamo lavorato con Tyron, nell'ambiente della chirurgia estetica. Le foto che avete visto prima sono foto di trapianti di capelli, come potete vedere, e che abbiamo esplorato sempre con lui.
On our road of discovery of the adult industry, we also found lots of websites that catalyse on swinging and relationships, and we were very interested in this. It's quite a new sort of idea to us, although we'd heard about it from sort of witty colleagues in tabloid newspapers. We actually hadn't experienced this sort of concept of swingers and wife swapping. So we joined one of these websites. It was, I think, £10 to join a month, and we found some subjects who wanted to have their love life documented. This is one of the couples, and I really like these images because it was very much the man in the relationship. It was a heterosexual couple, was very much the submissive man in the relationship, and she was an incredible exhibitionist and always wanted to be on top. And it was quite funny when we went to their house was in a sort of very seedy part of England called Basingstoke, and Tyrone and I went to their house, and while they were having the most ginormous orgasm upstairs in their pink bedroom, suddenly the postman came to the door and started ringing violently on the door, and I had to answer the door and collect their packages while this orgasm was echoing throughout the house, which was quite something else. This is another image from Babe Station, if we go to the next image. One of my favourite issues with Baron was the issue called Future of Sex. If we just flick through this. It was very much, it was very much based on a philosopher that I really like, was Zygmunt Bauman. He wrote a book about liquid love. And I was talking about it with someone earlier on, about this idea about how we find sex and love now is very different in a digital world, and that perhaps we take sort of elements that we like and find the best bits and forget about the hard bits such as emotion, struggle and anger. Lots of the images in the book, collages, are created in post-production. For example, I think this is quite a good example of finding your perfect mate in photographic form, combining photographs together. It's part male, it's part female. Do you want to go to the next one? Let me see that a bit more in detail. Do you want to translate?
Scusate, sono un attimo persa. Quest'ultima parte è un lavoro che nasce sul sesso del futuro, o il futuro del sesso, è un lavoro che nasce dai testi di Bauman. Nel suo libro parla proprio di come sono cambiati oggi il sesso e l'amore, e siamo partiti da lì, e da lì abbiamo cercato di creare alcune immagini anche, come vedete, con una post-produzione molto rilevante, mettendo insieme dei corpi. Qui invece vedete questo sito di swinging, dove fondamentalmente per £10 al mese ci si può iscrivere, e queste coppie postano le loro foto, le foto che si vedevano in serie prima, e questo invece fa parte, se non ho capito male, di sempre il luogo dove sono andati a girare per 2 settimane, dove c'era questa possibilità di incontri.
Okay. So so that was a future sex issue. That one was quite beautiful. Do you want to go? Oh yeah, I think this is a good reference point to one of the images that was specifically made about Zygmunt Bauer. Here we have the internet artist Avida Bystrom posing next to a telephone. And for those of you that know Avida's work, her work has she became sort of quite well known for making her work on a Tumblr. instead of showing it in perhaps more traditional formats such as the gallery. It was very much shown on a Tumblr, and she became well known and had this sort of group of females following her, so she was included in that issue. So I'm really positive to you. There's another example to Eva Stenram. I think that sort of illustrates these ideas quite well. This is another issue that I particularly liked. We were really exhausted with featuring the female nude constantly and wondered about male nude, and from our research we hadn't really seen much of the male nude made from a female perspective. If we look at sort of retrospectives about the male nude, there was one in Vienna about 10 years ago. It was predominantly created by queer artists. However, there was perhaps one female artist who'd created a male nude for that exhibition, which was Nan Goldin. And when we look through sort of the history of male nude, the female sort of gaze is very much missing. This is our debut cover. As you can see, this could be a cherry, or it could be a testicle.
Un'altra questione che mi interessa molto è questo fatto che vediamo spesso dei nudi femminili e che questi nudi femminili sono fatti da uomini. È molto più raro trovare invece dei nudi maschili fatti da donne. Nudi maschili fatti da uomini anche, ma lo sguardo femminile sul nudo maschile è sicuramente qualcosa che manca. C'è stata una mostra 10 anni fa, c'è il lavoro di Nan Goldin, però in generale era un tema che ci interessava esplorare perché sentivamo che era qualcosa che mancava. Questa è una foto di testicoli in una mano.
This is one of the videos we made.
So sexy. I really wanted to fuck me hard. Oh, I love the Baroness.
So much like the character of the Baron, we put in place this editor-in-chief called the Baroness, who sort of was a femme fatale, I guess, the sort of idea of the femme fatale. And in that video we can see that she's forced her subject, her little slave, to dress up in her clothing and speak about how much he loves her.
In questo video vediamo in qualche modo Baron che si trasforma in una baronessa, in una sorta di femme fatale e che forza un pochino attraverso i suoi vestiti e nell'esprimersi nel suo piacere.
Do you want to just flick through this part? So there's sort of various projects here that were made for the issue. Now, what I thought was quite interesting was that although we asked lots of female contributors, and although this is it's probably a bit of a sweeping generalization, and Baroness is a really small handful of artists that made this work, it was quite interesting that some of the female artists who were making work about the male nude turned these men into women. And for example, the front cover, the film that we just seen with made by Eloise Parry, and then also the fact that we wanted lots of these artists to make work about the male nude, wanted to in fact feature these works themselves and focus on themselves in these works, which I thought was quite an interesting outcome.
Trovo che in questo numero sia stato abbastanza interessante come coinvolgendo i contributi di artiste donne. Molto spesso il loro lavoro sul nudo maschile era rappresentare il nudo maschile come se fosse un nudo femminile, trasformarlo, oppure appunto contributi di questo tipo che ci portano in un'altra direzione rispetto alla mascolinità.
Advertisements, fashion, celebrity portraits. Everyone paid top dollar to be shot by an angel, and she was working the art market like a rocket. The secret to Angel's success was her genuine passion to photograph the human form, men in particular, ecstasy. I want to be hands-on, Angel said in an interview with Cosmopolitan magazine. Today was all about finding the perfect pass. Donnie's oily hair glistened. Angel couldn't wait to taste his Italian sausage. What everyone in the business knew about Angel is that, like most fashion photographers, she was a sex fiend. And she just happened to be a woman. So what? Angel needed cold, hard proof that her models were turned on. Angel was getting excited. On your knees, look at me. Come on, sexy. Give me a smile. As she prodded him between his legs, her manicured toes getting ever so close to his bulging packet. She went down, she did it often and with gusto. Donnie's hard muscles popped like bones in the camera flash. Angel couldn't get enough of this guy. All he had to do was to talk and she was wetting herself. She loved her job. Who wouldn't? After about 3 rolls of film, Angel was satisfied with the images, and now it was just time to play.
This is one of the films that we premiered for Baroness. It's in collaboration with a performance artist called Sarah Baker. And here we were sort of playing on these news stories about fashion photographers such as Terry Richardson. And we wanted to swap those roles. So the photographer was a woman. And it was quite interesting when we screened this and received sort of comments about the films. It was very much lots of cheering, finding the film quite amusing and funny. That this woman who was really using her power as this powerful photographer to, as a hierarchy, to control her male models, became quite amusing on the other side with the upper counter argument, which I thought was an interesting outcome.
Questo film che abbiamo appena visto è una collaborazione con Sarah Becker dove abbiamo cercato di, come avete visto, invertire quello che normalmente succede nella fotografia di moda, invertire i ruoli per cui la donna è fotografa di una serie di modelli. E quando abbiamo mostrato questo video, le reazioni sono state principalmente divertite nel notare proprio nel vedere questa donna di potere che controllava i modelli uomini.
A counter-project to the Baroness was our mythical pop star, the Baroness, and we collaborated with an artist called Emma Gruner. She's a French artist who also works as a cam girl. And I really liked her work because lots of her video works were about lots of her clients creating the work for her, where she would direct the men watching her films to direct her and tell her what to do, and then she would screen these outcomes. So we collaborated with this idea of the Baroness, and she's this sort of fictional pop star where she can't actually sing. We've got someone else to sing for her. And in the Daily Pop video, she's been directed by some of her clients in the video, which we can show you now. of Baron again explored this idea of the supplement, and we worked with the photographer Holroyd to create this issue in collaboration with Helmut Lang. And it's a beautiful book, and it's sitting outside, you can view it afterwards. And it really explores, I think, a really interesting word, function, the function of the body. For example, the breast can be a feeding station for a baby. It can also be this sort of part of the body that's heavily desired. It was made over 2 years, and it's created using Harley's practice as a fashion photographer, which I think is interesting, and also mixed with sort of documentary photography. Ending of the book, which you can see outside, is quite spectacular. It's quite beautiful. It's a birth that we photographed, and the birth actually happened. It wasn't planned, but happened on Christmas Day, and Holly was called into labour and photographed that, and it's quite beautiful. It looks a bit sort of niche, some of the images. There's also sort of nice photographs of sheets, blood-stained sheets. We can show some of that.
Lavoriamo anche abbastanza con i supplementi, abbiamo realizzato, lo potete trovare fuori, una pubblicazione con le foto di Holroyd, che è una fotografa di moda ma anche una documentarista, e abbiamo fatto tutto un lavoro sulle funzioni del corpo, quindi per esempio queste foto del seno, che sono una zona erogena di piacere meravigliosa, ma che sono anche un luogo che possono essere anche un luogo di alimentazione per bambine e bambini. E c'è una parte nel libro in cui ci sono le foto proprio di una nascita che in maniera un po' casuale è avvenuta esattamente il giorno di Natale. Queste foto sono molto belle, molto intense.
And I thought what was really nice with this Helmut Lang collaboration was that the images from the book featured on this campaign, and when you look at the sort of history of Helmut Lang campaigns, they're quite beautifully done, and we see sort of reference images to Robert Mapplethorpe, to various other artists, so I thought that was quite sort of an honour really to create these Helmut Lang campaigns in the book that would function as campaigns and pieces of work.
We have proposed.
Welcome.
We have.
As well as, I'm just going to close today with this. This is the last I'm going to show you. We offer to show
one way to truly experience the joy, the anger, the pain, and the sheer excitement of sport.
and we do lots of sort of screenings, and that was part of one of our screenings about the male gaze that we showed in London, and it's from a Canadian artist called Noam Gonick. It was created by Isabella Bally, who's the editor-in-chief of Baroness, and also the editor of How Am I Lying and Dazed and Confused. So thank you.
Grazie mille. Questo ultimo video è stato realizzato. Sorry, could you repeat the names?
Noam Gonick.
From Gonick?
Noam Gonick, he's the filmmaker.
Noam Gonick ha realizzato questo video, l'abbiamo mostrato a Londra recentemente e volevo salutarvi con questo video.
Grazie a tutti, abbiamo un po' sforato credo con i tempi, è stato un po' tardi, chiedo velocemente se c'è qualcuno che aveva qualche domanda o riflessione da condividere. Ringraziamo molto i nostri ospiti. Grazie.
Thank you.